When I did communications work full-time, I learned that I was really successful if I could communicate 3 things to an audience. Any more than 3, forget it. They don't have the bandwidth, they don't care, it's not going to happen. So the low bar I'm setting for you today is for me to try to present 3 things to you during this presentation you might actually walk out of the room and still remember. And if you do that, then we've both been successful. I will be talking about a number of trends here. Underneath the macro figures, I just need to stress that these numbers hide a bunch of subgroups. So this is not a one-size-fits-all situation. So for example, when I talk about older people, you can split that into at least 3 or 4 groups. I tend to put it in easy buckets, 55, 65, 65, until what I call frailty, and then frailty up. Frailty can occur anytime can occur to somebody in their 60s. I've seen people in their late 60s I would classify as frail. I'm not a clinician, thank you very much, but that's what I would do. So I don't put a number on that dividing line, but I certainly put a condition on that. And so within those 3, and you might actually have some other groups, you can have different conditions. So in terms of understanding who you're dealing with in the senior population, it's not a monolithic population, obviously. It's also not monolithic in terms of their relationships towards health and wellness. It's this fascinating situation in this country where we have this continuum that I think is getting longer and longer of extremely health-conscious people over here who are almost repulsively aggressive about their health. In your face, health-wise, right? These are people I suppose you want in your practice, but sometimes you may not want to see them coming because they probably know what you do better than you do. And if you don't believe it, just ask them. So you have this extreme focus on wellness. And then over here, you've got couch potato city. I mean, we're in terrible shape from a health standpoint. And obviously, it's not just kids, although that's just a horrible problem. So we have serious health problems. So even when you're dealing with an age group that might be homogeneous, within that group, you're dealing with different populations. From a money standpoint, I will spend a fair amount of time on money. You will find the same kind of continuum in terms of money. And this is something that you may not like to hear, but I'm sort of in the reality business. If you want to do this, you're going to have to assume a somewhat more complete role of providing advice and counseling to your patient population than they ever told you in medical school. If you're not up for this, you should ask yourself some tough questions at the front end. But I will try to make the case from what I've experienced in doing the stories that I've done that consumers don't live in silos or buckets. And our society tends to view problems in a siloed fashion. So you may have a money silo. You may have a health and wellness silo. For aging, you certainly have what I call a housing silo, very, very important topic in terms of what happens when people get older. You may have lifestyle silos. Older people, and I would pay a lot of money for somebody who can give me a better word than senior or some other kind of word like that. But older folks, they don't live in silos. For them, it's all part of one process, which would be their life, right? And so I think that to the extent that you can be very holistic in what you can do with your practices as far as dealing with older populations, I'm telling you, I think that's what these people want.